all. This is the HR Engage podcast, and you're with your host, Jonathan Mamaril. And with me today is a fantastic guest, Holly McBride. Holly, how you going?
Hey, Jonathan. I'm going really well. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. This is my first ever podcast. So yeah, we'll see how we go, and I'm excited to have this.
Well, I've had so many people actually say we'd love to have Holly on the podcast, and we finally got Holly on the podcast. And the reason for it is because you've been involved in so many things out there in the world of HR, and we'll go into that. You've got some great pedigree in council, but instead of me just rattling off all your achievements and everything you've done, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I suppose you can tell from the accent, not Australian. Originally from Birmingham in the UK. And me and my now husband did the whole traveling around the world, working holiday visa thing back in 2008. And we spent 6 months in Australia. Back then, John was an arborist, a tree surgeon. He's a nurse now. That's a whole other conversation. But after...
Definitely a story there.
There is. But after we did the whole traveling thing, he worked in Melbourne as an arborist. We went back to the UK, and it took about 14 months, but he got offered sponsorship. So we were able to come back to Australia. So I think April 2010, we packed a couple of suitcases and got on a plane, and we've been lucky enough to call Australia home ever since. We've got 2 beautiful children. I've got a 12-year-old Tweety daughter, very headstrong, but has got an amazing humour that she makes me laugh every day, and a real sense of kindness. And then a little boy who's nearly 5, and he just brings a beautiful sense of calm and a gentle soul to the family. And they really are my purpose, I suppose, every day for how I carry myself, and really are, I just strive every day to make all 3 of them really proud. Career-wise, so during university, I worked in retail, part-time job, as you do, did a bit of bar work and stuff, but that retail work led to me starting my career out in retail and in retail management. I then moved working for British Waterways, which look after the canal system in the UK, and that's actually where I met John. And then we went travelling, and then when we returned from travelling, I actually got a role at Warwickshire County Council, and that kind of, I suppose, ignited, started my career in local government. Because then when we did move back to Melbourne, I was lucky enough to get a role at City of Melbourne Council, and then since then, I've pretty much become a local government career girl, if you like, and I've had roles at councils in Victoria, then moved to Port Macquarie in New South Wales, and then we've been here at Fraser Coast for the last the 3 years, beautiful part of the world. So I've kind of worked my way up the East Coast, chasing the warm weather. Would I say back in my early mid-20s that I was aiming my career into local government? No, if I'm honest, I wasn't. I got that role at Warwickshire County Council, and then it's just kind of gone from there. But it is a sector that I really love working in. It gives you that sense of purpose that you really are working towards and helping achieve things that you can see lived in the community. But it also has enabled me to have a successful and really fulfilling career, whilst being able to be there and show up for my family, and be that mom and that partner that I want to be. And for that, I am really thankful for.
It's a pretty storied career already. But one of the things I wanted to ask you, because I think maybe some people take it for granted, but maybe some people don't. Going from the UK or overseas and then coming to Australia and, building that career, building that life, there's obviously some adjustment that's required. Can you tell us a bit about, from your perspective, what that adjustment was like, and how did you get through that?
Yeah, look, I think there was, and certainly everyone approaches these things differently. But I think for me, I've got this natural comfort with with change, and to me, life is all about experiences and seeing different places. Um, my husband, perhaps a little less, and he says sometimes I'm a bit reckless in my an approach and things, and he certainly takes a bit more time of change adjustment. Um, but we moved from the UK. We've moved other places, and wherever we've gone, we've been lucky enough to build relationships and connections. We've been welcomed. We've met some great people. I think whenever you go into a workplace, it's got a different culture and a different vibe about it, and it's for you to assimilate yourself with that and work within it. And if you need to influence any change, I think what is working in the UK got a different culture to working in Australia, absolutely. But then he's working at one council different to working at another, absolutely, because we've all got individual idiosyncrasies and cultures within there. And even I found moving from Victoria, then to New South Wales, and then to Queensland, they've all got a different, I don't know, a different feel and a different culture about them in itself. And it all does require a level of adapting and changing. But I think just as a bit of a family unit, that us being on that journey and looking for that adventure and life experience, it naturally means we assimilate ourselves well. So yeah, I think we've got all right.
And I want to, moving from that, I want to just ask you a question about your HR journey, because you're now here at in Harvey Bay, beautiful Fraser Coast Council, beautiful part of the world. Tell us a little bit about your journey into HR, because you didn't obviously start in human resources, but tell us a little bit about your journey. I know you gave us a bit of a rundown there, but give us about your journey from your perspective, going into eventually to your role right now.
Yeah, sure. So, and I think I probably haven't landed here necessarily through what you'd call the most traditional route into HR. As I said, I did start off in retail and that customer service type space. I did do some after university,
Yeah.
some study in the UK around HR, because that's where I wanted to be aiming my career. Then when I landed in Melbourne, I kind of found myself still in people management roles, but more again towards that service delivery, service design, lean business improvement, customer experience, but still getting to work on projects and change management that had that HR lens, service reviews, restructures, HR type projects. And really, I think gave me that. I suppose my grounding then is in that more customer experience and service design. And then as I've moved into more that people and culture, HR, L&D, recruitment, work health and safety space, it's moved from I'm translating over that customer experience approach into designing employee experiences
Mm.
where everyone can thrive, ensure that we're putting the people and the humans at the center of that in what we're doing.
Has that been a deliberate move by you, Holly, because that's sort of got that change management piece, which, there are a lot of specialists that work in just change management, but to go from essentially there, and I'm not saying that they're necessarily separate, but moving that maybe the focus or the needle more towards the employee centric experience. How did you move that thinking, that mindset, or was that more gradual, or was there some moment or event that occurred where you said, okay, this is where I need to be?
Yeah, look, if I'm honest, it probably just opportunities have just lent themselves in there. But But when you think about the employee experience and how and how that leads and links to that community and that customer experience, it starts there. So it is all connected, and a lot of the approaches and the foundations of that customer experience are rooted in how we're designing and delivering our employee life cycle. We're bringing in from attracting people into the business. What's that candidate experience that we're giving people, right through to how we're engaging people, we're keeping them safe, we're developing them, we're investing in them, we're recognizing them, and then hopefully when they're departing, we're leaving them with an experience that makes them an advocate for us as a business, or wanting to come back further down their career because we've helped lift them and get them to other opportunities, but they might come back around.
It's and does that sort of leak towards the passion in your passion in HR? Like, is that an inextricable link, or is that more of a are they essentially separate sort of frameworks? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there is a link. What I love about what we do in HR and in this space is that we're giving people skills and confidence and the ability to help us through that experience that we're crafting, we're enabling, and that help us ultimately deliver business outcomes. But in that, they're building skills and ways to develop and strengthen relationships, communication skills, to manage conflict, to influence. And yes, that gives us great outcomes delivery wise in the business. Yes, that means we're delivering a positive experience to our external customers, but it also gives people, we're giving people these experiences and skills it's about life. It's more than just work. And I'll give you a couple of examples. I'm a huge strengths fan, and I've used Gallup tools for a number of years now. And so when we're giving people, we're using it as a tool in the workplace for people to understand how their strengths show up and how they can improve their work performance, their communication, managing conflict, influencing, etc. All that in the workplace. But then outside of work, it's how your strengths are showing up outside there as well. So for me, for example, I'm a natural arranger. It leans to the traveling and the being able to move and the being okay with change and having multiple projects and things on the go. I've got this positive disposition about me. They're all my natural strengths. I don't have to put effort into them. But outside of work, it means I'm the person that organises the holidays. I organise our friends getting together. So I'm helping keeping us connected. And that's helping me, the kids, John, we keep connected with friends and things. And for me, doing that outside of work, it gives me energy. It's feeding my strength. So it's supporting my well-being. So something for me that started as doing a strengths assessment in the workplace really has leveraged and impacted over into my whole life. And I think that's where I suppose I get my passion, that I can see these things and the whole life impact that it has. And just to share another example, implemented in a previous organisation, a coaching program. Whatever stage we are in our life, we can all benefit and value from having a coach and experiencing that process. And at the end of the program, I remember one of the participants sharing back what they'd got out of the program. And yes, that it helped them with their communication. It helped them dealing with external customers and managing that conflict that you can get and how they approach that. But what she shared that really stuck with me was how she'd used these coaching skills with her son and how it had supported and strengthened the way they were communicating their relationship, and how she was applying these coaching skills to help him through elements and decisions that he was making in his life. And I think that's one of the moments that it really I thought this is impactful, what we're doing. both, holistically, to people's lives, and the opportunities that we can get through what we do and what we can support with there.
Well, you've really leaned into the strength based leadership, strength based coaching, and I picked up on that bit there where you said, it gives you energy, but it's also helped um, other people in their own life. But I want to pick up on that issue of that it gives you energy, because I think in human resources it can be such an intense area. We are dealing with people all the time. You talk about that. You found something, and the strength based side of things, and shout out to the Gallup guys that are listening to this, or watching this. But do you say that that is something that it's more than a framework, and it's something that now you live your life, but it's also giving you energy in your role?
Yeah, it is. And I suppose it's grounded in that philosophy around, do we have the opportunity to do what we do best every day? So if I'm in a role, we spend a lot of time at work. You could argue you spend more time at work and with the people around you at work than you do at home at times. Um, and so if I'm in a role every day where it's not, I'm not feeding my natural strengths, and I'm not getting um, to do what I do best, then you're not going to get the best out of me, and it's going to impact my well-being. It's going to impact my engagement. It's potentially going to cause me stress. I might end up in burnout. So, for
Right.
example, I need to be in a role where I am able to have lots of things that I'm working on. I can bring this positive impact to change. That I can take a strategic view with things here and into the future. And where I'm not, my natural space isn't more in that analytical type role. Does it mean I can't do it? No. I manage a budget. We do reports, we do data analysis to help inform, and it's a really important part of informing, our strategies and our approach, and what we're doing. So I can do that. But if I was to be in a role where that's what I was expected to do 80-90% of you're not going to get the best out of me, and I'm going to feel drained. So I really love that strengths based approach, that will, you're able to see how can I be leveraging these strengths in myself, and then with others, and then you go to building those strengths based teams. And also it helps from the sense of, if we're ever overplaying them, they can be our biggest barrier, as well, our biggest strength. So it just gives you a bit of that self reflection aspect, a bit of that blind spot that you can lean into. And I think yeah, it's really a powerful tool and an approach that you apply across life.
Holly, that the strength based, I think a lot of people would love to hear more about the strength based leadership. Going back onto human resource and the role that you have, what continues to give you joy? Like, why do you enjoy human resources? Like, why do you enjoy it?
Um, Again, I think I enjoy it. It really is about that ability to influence and enable that experience that people are having for those 8 hours a day that they're spending at work. And I think we're there as the partners, and we're there to help enable people to do their best every day. Well, we're there to support the decision makers. There is a legislative framework there, that there's things that we need to make people be aware of, but we also have a key role in understanding the challenges and the needs of the business, and how can we partner with you to get the outcomes that we're working to together. So I really I enjoy that. I um there's, I think, I think it's just centered around being able to continuously improve and help take things from good to great. And also doing it together, I think, is a really important part, and bringing in that co-design, and that, we don't just sit there as HR professionals and say, this is a policy, this is a procedure, this is what you need to do. People don't You don't engage people. They don't feel connected just because a policy has told them to do that. So how can we work together? How can we listen to what the organisation's telling us, listen to what they need, and use that together to design outcomes that are going to lead to better culture, better engagement, better place to work, and ultimately then filters through to those better outcomes, and for the community, we're delivering things, better performance, and that whole customer experience being better at the end.
I'm just and I'm just picking up on that what you've said there about influence, right? Just that our ability to influence and shape that employee experience. We've got a lot of early career HR practitioners listening to this podcast and also watching on YouTube. If you could say, if I could just get yourself to time travel a little bit and go back to the early career Holly, what advice would you have for them?
Yeah, that's a really good it's a really good question, Jonathan. And I think if I could travel back, I'd probably take myself back to Holly at City of Melbourne. And there's one specific area that I think for me has been a real big part of my leadership journey and my confidence in myself. And I'm still not there. It's still continuing, but it's, I'm working towards it. And so I'd go back to Holly at City of Melbourne, and the Holly that avoided doing any form of public speaking, standing up in front of people, doing presenting to big people, doing a podcast would not have been in the in the scope or the radar of Holly back then. The Holly that worried about that I can't do that people aren't going to like what I'm going to say, that I'm not gonna get it perfect, I'm not gonna get it right. If I stand up and talk about something, what if someone asks me a question at the end? So I haven't even started, I haven't even got there, and I'm worrying about the question at the end, and it stopped me from putting myself out there and doing something. Looking at people like yourself that have got this natural, charismatic, storytelling ability, and thinking that's not me, so I can't do that. And and I'd go back to her and I'd say, just give it a go, because it's all just experience. You're going to learn from it, and just put yourself out there. Because I fast forward to Holly that was then at Port Macquarie Hastings Council, and I find myself participating. We introduced a coaching leadership program. Everyone participated in it. I think everyone can benefit from a coach, and participate in something in that space. But we start the program, and the end of the program is you're going to have to stand up and do a presentation to the cohort about what you've got out of the coaching program, and to the executive leadership
Yep.
team, to everyone. So I'm going into this coaching program thinking, I do that. I'm already putting this barrier up, but where I was in my career, and I was in a place where I was thinking, no, I need to do this, because I hold a very, I suppose what's really core to me is that I'm doing the best for my team, and that I'm representing them in the best way that I can. And for me, a big part of that I think was missing from me as a leader and my leadership brand, was that confidence and what I believed was capability to be able to be out there, to be that cheerleader, to be sharing the great work that we're doing, and to be putting ourselves forward and out there, and to be cheerleading that success. So I made my goal of the program to become that, what I called that confident and capable leader. And at the center of it was around just having the confidence in this public speaking space. So I worked through the program and I'm building, skills. What did I need to do to make me comfortable and what could we do? And there was some great learnings there. And then I stand up at the presentation at the end and like, did you know? I mean, I didn't. It's actually it's a condition. It's called glossophobia. There is actually a condition, and it's a fear of public speaking. And it's the most common phobia out there. I didn't know that, but interestingly, as soon as I started talking and telling everyone that I'm standing here in front of you, sharing with you my absolute fear, and I've got the nerves in my stomach, my heart's racing. I was probably red, and I still get that now, but I'm learning to channel that a bit more into the energy.
Yeah.
But as soon as I was there, I was vulnerable. I was putting it out there. Literally, I reckon 95% of the room, because there's always them people like you, Jonathan, that are good and natural with this type of thing. But the majority of the people in that room, they leaned into me and they were physically agreeing with me and smiling, and they were with me for that presentation because it was real. And that fear that I'd had all that time of not getting it right and people worrying about what I'm going to say. Realistically, a lot of the time we sit there thinking, oh, I'm glad that's that person up there and not me. So just putting yourself out there, people were relating to it. And I suppose what that did, it opened up. And, at the end of the presentation, people were coming up to me and saying, well done, you did really well. That really resonated with me. And then from there, because it is one of them things that you need to put yourself out there. You need to do it more often. You need to. When I was doing presentations, when I was then standing and facilitating sessions at the all staff employee engagement days, people after that had been in that presentation would come and they'd support me, and they'd congratulate me and say, you're doing really, really well, and they could see and they were part of my progress. The other side of it, which for me was important, is that me sharing that and being open and vulnerable helped my team to be more open and vulnerable about these types of things, and it gave them a bit more of an inner confidence to say, yeah, I'm not comfortable with this, but I'm going to give it a go. So I suppose in all that, if I could go back to my younger self, it really would be about just say give things a go, and even if don't worry about what people are gonna think, as long as you're getting something out of it, and you'll give, if you do help others get something out of it, then great. Even if it's just one person, then it's meaningful, and you've made an impact. But even if you don't, you've got something out of it yourself, and it's all part of that, richness of that journey and that learning and developing yourself. So I'd just go back and say, just give it a go.
I think it's a great piece of advice because, and I know, I understand there's a lot of younger viewers and younger listeners thinking, oh, that's really easy for you guys to say, you're on, you've gone through that, you've gone, those difficult parts already behind you. But I say to them, and I think really comes back to what you were saying, put yourself out there, give it a go, because the reality is, there will be times where you are going to bomb. There are going to be times where you are going to make mistakes. But I think the key part is that you need to learn from those. Like that's the thing. And one of like personally for me, Holly, like as you know, I do a lot of speaking and presenting. But there's been a couple of times where I really bombed and really bombed badly. But it was actually the ones where I could learn the most. Mm-hmm. Because I could reflect and go, hey, what's the things that I didn't do well? And, the ones I come back to is preparing for that. So I think that idea of, if, put yourself out there, give it a go, but still prepare, do like put your best foot forward, because sometimes that best foot forward is not going to be great. But if you put it there, and give it a go, they'll still open up opportunities. And I think that's a really good point for the young listeners? Because I can already hear what some of them are saying, like, oh, wait on, yeah, it's great for you guys to say it now when you sort of go, but that's the great thing about hindsight. And I suppose Holly's message, and I think you agree, is give that a go, take that opportunity, grasp that opportunity, and see what comes of it.
Yeah, absolutely, Jonathan. And I think that's one thing that I've learned, that um, do what you need to do to prepare. Some people look like they've not done any, because I used to think, oh, people just get up there and they're naturally great at it, and it just flows and it just happens for them. But you don't actually know what they've done
Yeah.
in their preparation to get there.
Yep.
And do what you need to do. You know, if you need to stand in front of the mirror with keywords up on the mirror and start to and practice, do that. If you go for a walk in the morning and you and just really say over and over again, what's your opening line, what's your opening paragraph. Get that nailed and landed, because then that gives you the confidence to continue on from there. If you need to take notes and write stuff out, um, do what you need to do to get you there. And then I've found over time, the preparation, I still need to prepare, but the preparation and I suppose the stress and the effort that I need to put into it, it does decrease. I remember my first thing like this that I did. It was a call to coach type webinar, and I was in a room, and the screen was like this, but on the wall, which the people in the camera couldn't see, the wall behind me had all these huge posters on it, all these words. It had everything to just, and that was my crutch that
Yep.
I needed, my safety blanket there, to help me engage it. And did I refer to them in the end? Not as much as I thought, but if they hadn't have been there, there'd probably been something in my mind thinking, oh my God, what am I going to say, what to do? But I'd prepared, I'd worked through them. It helped me in my getting ready. And then when I was there and they were there, they were my crutch and my assistants. But I didn't need them as much. And to everyone else that was watching, they thought I looked crazy, because I'm in this room talking to this screen. I've got this whole wall in front of me, but it's what I needed to do. So I think as well, yeah, you do what you need to do, and then over time, yeah, you'll just continue to grow.
Move from the early career. Like, there's a lot of listeners as well, and a lot of watchers who are senior people in HR. People been in it for a long time, or a good period of time, similar position to yourself. What are the two big pieces of advice you would have for any person in human resources or is currently in human resources?
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. I think for me, it's centered around that, leading with empathy and not just the compliance would be one. And that whole, how do we put the human back into HR and ensuring that we're doing that? I think, as said before, that you're not going to help people thrive, connect, and engage just because of a policy told them to do so. So how are we, when we're enabling the organisation through HR and through what we're doing and the initiatives that we're having, we're putting ourselves in the shoes of our customers, of the employees, of the candidates that we're trying to attract, and putting ourselves in the shoes of what do they need, what is the experience that they're having. And that streams right through from your recruitment to your onboarding experience, to how we then investing in them, recognizing them, supporting and developing them, through to those difficult conversations that you're going to need to have. They can still be done with empathy and with integrity, and with a humanity around them. They might not like the outcome, but we're doing it in a way that we're thinking about the person on the receiving end of this.
Yep.
So that whole leading with that empathy, and not just the compliance and the process that we need to do, because people feel that. People feel if you're just coming in and you're doing the HR process. Then I think my second piece of advice would center around being kind to yourself, and really then more asking that question, what do you do for your own self-care? HR, it's an emotionally demanding space to work in. You know, we are there. We get to be part of great positive initiatives. We get to celebrate in the success. Where we're supporting people all the time with their own well-being, but it also carries this emotion, you know, this heavy
Mm.
burden of we're there in the difficult conversations. We're communicating out bad news. We're supporting people um, with health issues, relationship separations, loss, grief. Um, you know, we're then not just in and having those conversations ourselves, but we're supporting managers and to be having and coaching others to be having those what can be those courageous types of conversations. So I think it's about making sure that you can't, you know, we're taking care of ourselves first so that then we can take care of each other and being intentional in that and doing whatever it is that you need to do, being a bit selfless and taking the time for that. What do you need to debrief? Who have you got there as your support network? Who is your best friend at work that you can lean on when you need to? Um, Make it, you have that lunch break, go for that walk, listen to that podcast, listen to that piece of music, whatever it is, whatever that looks like for you. Make sure that you've intentionally got that would be my advice. So that you are able to come back and to be there on what can be. And I know we're here because, you know, a lot of that stuff that is demanding, we can thrive in it and we that's the space we want to be in and we're good at it, but we're human as well. And it does build and it is going to take an effect. So just knowing when to recognize that and yeah, and taking care of yourself.
I think those are really, good tips or big piece of advice. I think for people in HR, especially senior people in HR, that second one though, in particular, of taking care of yourself and maybe being a little bit selfless at times to take care of yourselves. I think this area can be quite grueling. It
Mm.
can be an area where it can take a lot of energy, but there's a lot out there around, you know, um, how to continue that energy and also how to, inspire others. And there's a lot of information content out there. There's a lot of stuff around self-care, but more from the perspective of maybe, maybe like more like an employee or employee wellness. I don't think there's a lot out there, and there's a lot out there around executive leadership wellness as well. I don't think there's anything really in regards to HR people in particular, people in specifically in that HR zone. Like, and you don't have to go into any great detail, Holly, but like, what are the types of things that you just implement in your life just to sort of take care of yourself?
Yeah, I think it's a good point, and I think that's the whole you often get you're so involved in supporting and caring about
Mm,
others that it's really and you bounce in HR from one thing to the next. You know, you can be in an industrial dispute and you're talking to somebody who's had some bad news, and there's people that are emotional in with you every day. And so I suppose, you know, we use that's where strengths can come in as well as a tool in terms of understanding what your natural strengths are. So if you're someone that leads more with empathy, for instance, then you're potentially you need to have an awareness of that because you're going to be not just putting yourself in someone else's shoes, but you're potentially going to be walking around in them all day and taking on and holding on to things. How do I create that separation and that space from there? For me, it's things like my my positivity is great and it can help lift people up, but I need to be aware of it when I'm in them moments where people aren't necessarily needing somebody to come in all positive and great. How am I matching people and helping people lift them? And it makes the whole the whole conversation and experience easier on me as well if I'm going in with this awareness of how I can get the best out of the conversation. I'm coming out of it in a better place as well. And I think generally for me, it is about that you know that ability to switch off at the end of the day. I don't have my work phone and my personal phone integrated in one. I have two separate phones, and it's intentional so that the work one is put to the side, and it's not constantly there as part of my life if I'm ever needed for
Yeah.
anything. But it gives me that intentional separation. I love spending time with kids, doing things like every night we try and go for a walk as a family. We walk the dogs,
Oh,
and we don't even have to go far. We just go around the block, but we get out. The phones and the devices have gone, and we're just talking and walking around the block with the dogs and things. Um, Again, I lean into my strength. I love holidays. So booking holidays for me, I make sure that I've got a weekend away that I'm looking forward to, a holiday. It's something that I'm striving to, so that in those moments where, it maybe is a bit intense, I've got that other side that I'm able to latch onto and lean into.
great. That's some great tips there. Or at least great to know what you do from your perspective. I wanted to talk to you about HR challenges. Okay, so obviously, human resources, workplaces, workforces are going through some big changes, big
Mhm.
challenges. But for you, what is the biggest challenge you're facing now in human resources, and how are you tackling it?
Um, Yeah, a good question, Jonathan. And I tried to think, is there just one? And I don't know that I think there's a few for us, and I think they are interlinked, and they probably just center around the general state of the workforce, really. Because when I think of the challenges, I'm thinking of things around attracting talent. And in local government in particular, that can be challenging because we're not always able to compete with the private sector. So, we're really having to think about how can we dial up our
Mm,
employee value proposition as a whole, to attract people into coming to work at local government, because the dollars aren't always there. And then when we've got people, how are we retaining them? How are we engaging them? How are we ensuring that they're showing up every day and they're engaged? They're not just showing up and quietly quitting. Um, so, how can we focus on people's strengths and giving them opportunities to grow and learn and for career progression? And, we're centering that around programs such as leadership development, study assistance, and things like that. The role in with that, I think as well, a challenge, the role of the manager is critical to both of those. So attracting people and then keeping them. So we really are, it's about that challenge of supporting and enabling and giving your people managers the confidence and the capability. HR aren't the people manager for the whole of the organisation, but what we are there to do is to support, enable, and partner with managers to give them the confidence to be able to do their jobs and to do it well. And I think there's that real challenge around how can we partner with the business and to be adding the value in the right way and getting in and supporting people early enough with things rather than them getting into a space where I can't. It's enough. I can't. It's all blown up. It's enough. I can't go any further, and I'll go to HR and hope that they can fix it. So for us, that's a challenge of how we're partnering with people. And then I think there's then general disruptors like AI. That is changing the way that we work, and it's how do you keep pace with those types of things. I don't think we're necessarily on track with that, but I think what we're trying to do and how we are trying to mitigate these challenges is having in place a clear strategy and plan that's recognizing where we need to be, that's, what's the workforce planning we need to do now for
mm,
the future. We're here, this is
yeah.
where we need to be, how are we going to get there? Have a plan that's informed as well by the business, where they are, the business readiness, and what we're able to achieve. But a huge part of that is how we're building a workforce that's agile and resilient, because one thing that probably is a fact is that whatever plan we have, things will need to adapt and change as we go. So how are we staying agile to be able to respond to those challenges as they come in and shift and change.
That seems like a huge challenge, and I think many workforces many HR teams are going to have to deal with this, which is there is going to be change. We don't know how quickly it's going to be. We don't know what exactly yet what that change might be. But you talk more about making informed plans now as much as you can, because some of it is still a mystery and some of it's still unclear, but still doing it now, but being agile. I think the key part is that you and the team and the staff, the workers and the employees are also agile enough to go, we can move. We're not going to be rigid in our thinking. I can see how that works very much for, say, smaller businesses, startups, technology companies, those who have huge remote workforces. How do you do that with maybe more traditional workforces, like you sort of have currently? Like, how do you do that with a more traditional workforce?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think again, it just comes down to um, working with people and responding to their needs and being clear with them and communicating with them regularly and engaging with them. This is why we're doing this. This is what we're getting you ready for, and this is where we're going and what the
Mm,
role that you play in this, and this is how we're going to support and help you get there. And also that as from a HR perspective, making sure that we start out, we've got the skills and the confidence and the capability. So, what are we doing with AI? How are we looking at that now? And how are we using it? How are we skilling ourselves around business partnering and what that looks like and the best way to approach that? And I also think as well the agility comes from a culture of creating a culture of continuous improvement and innovation, and people being okay with the fact that it doesn't have to be perfect, that we don't have to wait for perfection to be doing something. Put stuff out there, start it going, be working on it and designing it together, and knowing that we might need to adapt and change things as they go, but we're making progress and we're then tailoring it. And if you're doing that with people and you're co-designing things and initiatives together, then it kind of makes the change and things okay. But also being conscious as well that change fatigue and things can go a lot around in circles and on for so long that you're managing that balance with people. And if things are going on a bit too long and people are wondering, well, why am I here? What's going on? What are we doing this for? Go back to the why we're here. And if we do need to reinforce, or we do need to do things a bit differently, being open to that, not just being so fixed on this is what we've done because this is the way we've said we're going to do it, or the way we've always done it. If things need to adapt and change, then we're doing that. And we've done it across, in a workforce such as local government, which can be known for having bureaucracy and going round in circles on things. So we're doing things in a way that's listening and responding to what people need, whilst keeping an eye on the side of what we need to be heading towards and where we're.
I think we all know that these challenges, we just don't know much about these challenges yet. Like, we know that there is there. We don't too much about the detail just yet. It's hard to tell, but it's good to understand from your perspective, especially, I think a lot of people talk about it from our perspective of a smaller workforce or a non-traditional workforce. But, it's good to hear from a more traditional workforce perspective, like that ability to adapt is going to be a huge part going forward, because this is a very hot topic. I wanted to move away from that topic because that's a hot topic, I understand, and a lot of people want to hear more about it. But I want to get from you, because I always ask pretty much everyone that comes onto this podcast this particular question, and that is, what is the one thing about human resources that people might disagree with you about?
Yeah, good one, Jonathan. And I'm not sure I'm going to be hugely controversial here, but I was thinking back through my experiences and something that has maybe been a bit of a theme that has potentially been a bit of a barrier as well around these things. And I think it centers around that as HR professionals, we don't always have to be the expert and we don't always have to be right. And I think that can be sometimes a barrier to some of that
Yeah.
success, that agility and that change. And, we're seen as the policy police, or, you've got to do
Yeah.
it this way because this is what it says. So really how can we work with people, partner with people to understand that yes, there's things here that we've got a role in making sure that you're maintaining and that you comply with, but how can we understand what are you trying to achieve? What are the challenges of the business, and how can we get there together? When I was thinking of this, I thought back to an example from a couple of organisations ago when I was working on a quite a large restructure. And there was some large scale impact. People were being told that their roles were impacted, and one of the HR business partners provided some advice to one of the impacted employees, and the advice was incorrect. And that individual, she was complaining, she was inconsolable, she was upset, she was emotional. And I remember the IR manager coming and saying to me, what are we going to do? What can we do? And so I went back to him and I said, well, the advice, we talked through, we're wrong. We've done the wrong thing here. So we need to apologize, and we need to say that what we've done, it's wrong, and we can appreciate how that's impacted them. But this is the information that we need you to know, and this is what's going to happen from here. And, and we're really sorry, and we really want to work with you. But I remembered that because I think it really was an example of there was just this immediate reaction of HR can't be seen to be the ones that have said something wrong or done something wrong. And if they hadn't have been vulnerable and admitted that, yeah, we've not got this right here, right now in this moment, then it would have continued and it would have just got worse and had more of an impact. And I think that whole level of, needs to be the expert, needs to be right. It can be a bit of a blind spot sometimes, as a bit of a barrier. So it's about that
Yeah.
balancing that and knowing when you need to be vulnerable, and you might need to say, yeah, no, we've got that wrong, or we've headed down a bit of a path here that we might need to put the handbrake on and come back and revisit and adjust. And just having the humility, the empathy, the vulnerability to be able to do that.
Yeah, that I mean, it's something that I think a lot of people potentially might say they disagree, but I can completely understand your point there, and what you're saying. Look, I want to switch the gears a little bit, because our tradition here on the HR Engage podcast is that we ask these rapid fire questions. First thing comes to your mind, just spit it out. Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, all right, let's go. All right, what is your favorite movie, Holly?
So I would go The Notebook, Crazy Stupid Love, and maybe more recently The Fall Guy. And you'll pick up a bit of a theme there. It's not all about the movie, but the theme is Ryan Gosling. Anything Ryan Gosling centered is on my favourite list.
Brilliant. I think. What is your favorite holiday destination?
So you'll have picked up a bit of a theme throughout this whole conversation. I love holidays, and I genuinely love everywhere we go, the whole experience. But I think you probably know what I'm going to say. If I was to share one place that has just got this absolute special part in my heart, it's Disney World. In Orlando, and just all things Disney, and just the magic of it. I love theme parks. I love roller coasters. I love seeing characters. I love putting silly ears on my head for the day. I love the magic of the castle. And with that, I've been lucky enough, especially when I was living in the UK, I've been able to go a few times. But last year we took the family, and it was things like just that special time and that moment that you're able to
Yeah.
catch And it's silly things like standing in the queues together and just talking and spending that time together, and then going for a night swim, after you've been at the park all day, and you're just talking about all the fun you've had, and what you want to do tomorrow. And so it is my ultimate number one. And I think I'm going to try and set myself a bit of a goal that I like want to go about 10 times in my life or something. I'm on around 4 or 5. So that's mine. I'm a ultimate Disney fan girl.
It's like there is magic to it. And we've talked previously about our Disney experiences. There is some magic there, even like obviously for the kids, it's crazy. Absolutely, I couldn't imagine being a kid going to Disneyland. Like that would just blow my mind. But going there as an adult, just bringing back those like just memories, like happy memories. Like it's it's very much created an experience. And when Walt Disney talks about bringing magic, like that really was his vision. Like it really was his vision. And you can feel it. You actually feel it in the way everyone acts. So I experienced Paris, but you obviously went to the big deal over in America. But yeah, it's pretty incredible. Yeah, I like that as a holiday destination. And we'll talk about a little bit more about your other holiday stuff. But let's keep going here, because another one that I want to ask you was, apart from family and friends, who has inspired you the most?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think I'd go back to my my high school principal head teacher. And look, I went to a council estate public high school, but it had a reputation of being one of the best. And I genuinely put that down to Mr. Perks, who was their head teacher. He led with heart. He instilled a pride in people. He walked around in the school uniform with the blazer and everything, and wearing the badge. He had those difficult conversations when he needed to, and he just connected, and he knew the students. And so for me, I think he's one of my first examples of an inspiring leader, and just an inspiring human, really, and has what influenced then me what I see as important in cultures, and in workplaces, and in leaders, and what I aspire to be myself. And I'd also share, linking onto that, just conversely, I had early in my career, I did a short stint at one of the big supermarket chains in the UK, and I went in as a customer service manager. And the overall manager of the store, the way she was speaking with people, the way she interacted with people, and therefore the influence that on the way people were working together and speaking with each other, it was just a culture that I just didn't feel right in, and it just didn't sit with me. So I ended up leaving at around 6 weeks in, because I made the decision that this isn't something that I want to be part of. And I think that's then gone on influence me in terms of what I know I see as what I value and what I need from a workplace, and from the relationships that I have in my life. And so from that great example that was that inspiration of Mr. Perks, I think he really did set the tone for me. And so then when I've seen things that don't quite align with me, but that example made me realise then, to go through my working career, because it was quite early on, that really is core to me and important around what I need. So it really did have, both in their ways, had a big influence on me.
That's pretty amazing. Never heard that before. So that's pretty incredible. What's the thing that you do outside of work that you're passionate about or keeps you going?
Yeah, look, I don't think there's anything different probably to what I've just said. I feel like I'll be on repeat. The holidays, and having the weekends away, and the experiences, the life experience, it definitely keeps me going. The kids really do, and just spending time with them. And it doesn't always have to be this big extravagant, doing something. One thing that I really love is Sunday mornings. We've got a
Yeah.
bit of this thing where we all pile into our big bed, and Sunday, the morning's just waking up, we're easing into the day, and we're snuggling and we're laughing, and we're talking. And it's one of them Sunday mornings are them moments where I just stop and think, yeah, this is why we do what we do. And it's one of them, try to capture that mental picture and frame of those moments, because they're not going to be there forever. They're growing up, and they're going away, and they'll go away and stuff. So for me, that's what keeps me going,
Yeah.
and everything that I love. Yeah.
That's pretty good. Last rapid fire question. Tell us something about yourself that people don't know about you.
I don't know that I'm that interesting, Jonathan. I think maybe the again theme of loving holidays. Before we moved to Australia, me and John booked a 2-week holiday to Cuba. And in the middle, we got married on the holiday, in the middle of the holiday, just the two of us on the beach in Cuba. Our mums knew, but none of our friends did. It was in Spanish, and we just had to say "sí" at some point. So I'm pretty sure it's legit. It is legitimate. We've got a marriage certificate and stuff. So I think that's something that people don't realise. I'm known as Holly McBride, but I'm actually married to Jonathan Kay. So I've just not got round in the 15 years that we've been married to officially changing my name. So Facebook, I'm known as Holly Kay. Everywhere else, I'm still Holly McBride. But yeah, I did get married on a beach, and it is legitimate.
Okay, cool. Great. I don't know what to say to that.
No.
Just some closing questions before we let you go. If
Yeah.
you could recommend a book, movie, TV show, or podcast to listeners, what would it be and why?
I'm really loving the Mel Robbins Let Them theory right now. So much so, she's got I love her podcasts, but I'm on my second reading of the book, and I think I love it because it's just really it's an easy to read, it's relatable, it's genuine, it's real, and it feels like you're talking to a friend. And I'm reading it, and I'm like, yeah, that's me. Yep, I've done that. Yep, I can see that. Yep, I need to do that. And I just the whole theory of it. It's simple, but for me, since reading it, it's really just given me that moment of just a bit more, when we all get frustrated, when I get, and there's times where I'm trying to control people and things that I can't, just applying that moment of that, almost like that let them, it just gives you that breath and that moment and almost that bit of a strategic pause to step above it and to rise above it and not let that impact you. And then I love it's then, so I'll let them do that, but then I'm going to let me choose how I respond. And that's the part that I like, that I think it's supporting me in work and outside of work, that I'm in that moment and letting things maybe play out, and then I'm thinking about how I respond, and in those responses is where I'm able to stay true to me and choose how I'm going to communicate, how I'm going to behave, how I'm going to stay true to my values and who I want to be. And so that's my hot read of the moment that I'd recommend to anyone.
Great.
There's so much in it. I think you'd be able to get some of that out of it.
Is there a quote or a moment of inspiration you would like to leave us with?
With this, I actually thought back to I was chatting to a colleague, probably one of who I'd class as my best friends at work, and I'm having one of them,
Yep.
moments and sharing some frustrations there with them. And he shared, and if from memory, it's something that someone said to him, so we're paying it forward. And he shared that in those moments when he finds himself in that space, he thinks about that there'll be a time when you look back and you wish you were here in this moment right now. And I thought that is so right, because no matter, how how frustrated I'm getting, how there's something that I really don't want to be doing that's really challenging me. At the moment, the kids are young, I've got my house, I've got a great job, I've got all these opportunities, and you don't know going forward, there might be a time that no matter how hard that thing is that I'm trying to tackle and get through, there'll be a time where I wish I was back here. And I just thought that really stuck with me. Um, and I still think of that. So I thought I'll pay it forward as he did with me, and share that with everyone.
That's incredible. That's a incredible moment of inspiration, because I found myself thinking that so many times. I think as young people, we look at the milestones. Yeah, like I'll get to get past primary school, get to high school. I'm going to get that first car. I'm going to get through these exams. And you're always looking forward to, I get to 18, I'm going to be able to go out. Going to, be able to, go to a party or go to the prom or what. You're just going through these and, get my first job and gets my first, you're going forward, forward, forward. But as you get older, you start to go looking more backwards. God, I wish I was back in
Yeah,
that time. And I wish my knee was much better. When my knee was much better, I could play, and all these different things. That's such an incredible, that's such a powerful message. At some point, and when you have kids, and now the kids are growing up a little bit more, and I'm sure when I'm older, the kids are older, I'll be going back and think about this time as well. It's just, I think that's a really strong message. Can you just repeat that just for a moment there again, please?
yeah. It's around that there'll be a time where you wish you were here.
Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Holly, it's been incredible to have you on the HR Engage podcast. Um, there's been so many things you discussed, but I think one is the strength-based approach. And again, shout out to the Gallup guys as well. But that strength-based approach that you've just not implemented just in your career in HR, but also in life, and how that's helped so much. I think that whole idea for people in HR to, take, be a little bit selfless and take care of themselves in such a, we are in a stressful environment. We have loads of challenges coming our way, or currently working on some of the stuff we actually don't know yet. It's so up in the air, especially around technology, but being able to build a agile crew that can work within those parameters and do your best to plan. Like, you still have that planning side of things. I think that whole advice for the younger listeners and the younger viewers around just putting yourself out there, giving it a go, but also putting your best foot forward. Like, we're not, don't just like that whole recklessness, but put your best foot forward, and not be afraid to have a go, because that will obviously create opportunities for you going forward. Your passion for HR has really shown through, and it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the HR Engage podcast, Holly. Thank you so much.
Oh no, thank you, Jonathan. It's been a great experience. I would admit I was a bit, nervous coming in. Old habits die hard, it's still there, but I've really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Well, that's another HR Engage podcast. As always, even if you're in a car or a boat or a train or wherever you are, hope you're listening. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, make sure you follow, do all those things. So make sure it gets us out to more of the audience, to the HR community. I'm Jonathan Mamaril, the host of the HR Engage podcast. Speak soon.